It's technology dependent. Here we go. Wonderful. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. There's a couple more that are coming on. Hope you girls are all right. Well, where do we begin? Molly Bartrip, girls, please wave, obviously, because you can't speak, to Molly. Molly, obviously, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening, especially, obviously, during this current lockdown period. It's a shame we couldn't get us face to face, but thanks for joining us.
No, not a problem.
You know, we'll crack on if that's okay. So, Molly, oh, there we go. Introduction. Are you all right to just introduce yourself, how old you are, even the little bits, who you support, who you currently play for, how long you've been playing for them? So just give us a bit of an intro of who.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so hello girls. I'm Molly Bartrip. I currently play for Reading Women in WSL1. I've been there for 7 years. Yes, a long time. The team I support, well, West Ham United. You can't support anyone else. I'm from Essex also, so that kind of is why I support West Ham. Yeah, been at Reading for 7 years, played through the England youth age groups until the 23s. And here I am now, 24 years old. So yeah.
There you are. You're very modest. So girls, just in case you don't know, so Molly plays for Reading, which currently you sixth, I think, in the WSL.
Yeah, I think so at the moment. Yeah.
Hopefully you'll increase. I'm sure you will.
We're slightly edging. Yeah.
And the WSL girls is the Women's Super League, so it is the highest league that you can possibly achieve in the UK. Okay, so Molly currently is very modest. Okay, so she's in the best league that you can possibly get in the women's game. Okay, Molly, quick question before we carry on: who was your idol growing up?
Oh, that's a good question. I watched Farrah Williams a lot growing up, but I also watched Kelly Smith, who for me is the ultimate professional. If none of you girls know Kelly Smith, then please Google her and look at YouTube, because she was unbelievable and somebody I really wish I could have played with. So yeah, I'd probably say those two are up there for me.
Those two. Yeah, no, I have to agree. Kelly Smith was definitely one for me, and Farrah Williams. You know, she's still playing, I think. So, and with you, but we'll touch on that a bit later. Perfect. So, so we know who you are, and the fantastic footballer that obviously your statue shows us. But can you tell us your journey through football? So, literally, where your career began, and then talk us through all the way up to where you currently are.
Yeah, of course. So my dad is a massive football fan, so I kind of knew I was only going to play football growing up. I did play other sports, but football was kind of always in my heart. So I went over to a local park, seen some boys playing and decided to join in. And then from there, I played for a local team, a local boys team. I then realised that girls did play football, and there was girls teams about. So I then ended up joining Tottenham Hotspur. That weren't a centre of excellence, or I don't know what you call it at the moment, but back in my day, centre of excellence. They weren't a centre of excellence at the time, but they were still obviously known in the men's game massively. I stayed there for a couple of years. I then couldn't play football for the boys team. At that time, we weren't allowed, which was kind of tough, because I thought that was helping my game, physically, mentally, in every way. You know, boys are a lot stronger than you, so it was testing me in other ways. I then kind of realised that Tottenham weren't really going anywhere. So I trialled at Charlton. Charlton Athletic were one of the biggest women's teams back in the day. Some massive players played there. Casey Stoney, Farrah was there for a little bit. Some massive players played for that team. So I was there for a couple of years until I was under 14. I then kind of realised I wanted to play properly. At that point, I knew that I really wanted to kind of give it a go with football and really try and push on. So I got asked to go to an Arsenal trial, and I was nervous. That is a massive club, and not a club that I ever expected to get a chance of playing for. I ended up getting in, spent almost 5.5 years at Arsenal through the whole of the academy. So I think I came in the under 14s. And then finished really with the academy, which was amazing because I learned a lot there. Some amazing players I played with growing up, the likes of Leah Williamson was one of them. Obviously Charlotte as well.
I was waiting for Charlotte.
No worry, I'll put that one in. But yeah, look, I was really fortunate for getting my opportunity at Arsenal. I was kind of in the first team a little bit, trained with them a lot, was on the bench a few times, but I knew that I really wasn't going to get that opportunity to play consistently in that team. You know, they were the biggest women's team. So I knew I wasn't really going to have a fair chance of doing it. So I decided to take another route in my career, and I joined Reading. Jane Ludlow was the manager, ended up being the manager of Reading, who was currently playing at Arsenal, who took me across. And I've actually been at Reading ever since. So yeah, 7 years still going at this moment in time. But that's basically my career. So I've had, take it this way, I've gone to a few different teams, had to kind of explore different areas. But yeah, thankful for where I've been and the kind of chances I got given.
Yeah, brilliant. And would you say how much of an impact and influence did sort of the external factors that weren't just you playing, so like your friends, your family, coaches, how much of an impact throughout your journey do you think they had? Do you have a favourite coach? Was there a certain like team in terms of like the transfer? Obviously, it would have been big from Arsenal to Reading, being going from sort of girls to women's almost.
Yeah.
What sort of impact did that have?
So look, my family are unbelievable. They took me up that M25 most days, you know. They did everything for me until I left home at 17 to go to Arsenal Academy, where I had to kind of grow up a little bit. Had to pay the food shopping, which wasn't normal back then. But my parents have done everything, and they've supported me so much, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without them. Coaching wise, I've been coached by a few people. Jane Ludlow was the person that really kind of let me realise how good I could be, and gave me that confidence to push on. And I was playing with some very good players at the time, but I was really, really young in comparison to them. And she was the main one that really kind of let me excel and let me kind of play my game as well. It wasn't too like, you know, strategic and tactical. It was very much, Molly, like, you're good at this, you go and do that. And I really thrived off that. And for me, I've got a lot to owe Jane, because she gave me that opportunity to play with women. Yeah. And that's only helped me now. Like, I think so many people ask me, interviews, even players that I play with, even staff, they're like, oh, how old are you? I'm like, 24. And they don't expect it, because I've been in with the women's team for such a long period of time. They expect me to be 28. I'm like, whoa, come on. But 24, and I'm really fortunate because I've had that experience like continuously for the WSL, and when we got promoted, obviously, and I've been given that opportunity, and yeah, I'm so thankful for that from the staff, my parents, Jane Ludlow, like everyone that's kind of been there through it with me have been such a massive help.
Great. And what position do you play, Mar? I don't know if you mentioned that at the beginning, but and also.
Oh no, I didn't.
And have you always played in that position? So when you were younger, everyone seems to start up front or in goal?
I actually didn't.
Yeah.
I actually started as a centre half, and I've ended as a centre half. But I can assure you, I did not play centre half my whole of my career. Even at Arsenal, I think I was full back, centre mid. At Reading, I've played right back, left back, centre half, centre mid, a 10, so like an attacking midfielder. So I've played basically everywhere apart from centre forward, which I should have started there. But yeah, I've pretty much played every position, but I've ended up at centre half, which is where I started. And I kind of always knew I loved defending. Yeah. Even with the boys back in the day, like I used to love going into a tackle and always coming out better, you know. So yeah, centre half through and through.
Love it, love it. Perfect. Right, if we now move on from away from your football, and more onto your like personal journey. So obviously when it was me and you were growing up, football was always, I don't know about you, just as important as education, and it still is now. But compared to some other girls, you've actually obviously stuck with education for a little bit longer than most actually as a professional footballer. So are you able to just talk us through your personal journey in terms of like your GCSEs, and also importantly how you managed to balance football with your academics, because what we were traveling to London 3-4 times a week. So are you able to just talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously my GCSEs, my school at the time was really good, because I was with England. when I was in under 15. So through my GCSEs, I was actually having to stay away from school because I was going on camps to tournaments. So I was really lucky that my school were full support and allowed me to do that. And my mum's really clever, so she kind of taught me when I was away from school if I had to be. But my mum's full of education. She loves education. She's told me like football can be a short career, and it's still true to this day. Although all of you girls are hitting it at the right time, I can assure you of that. But back then, it wasn't necessarily something you could potentially live off. So I always know that education was important to me, and it had to be important to me for the future. So I ended up going to university, which was when I moved to Reading at that time as well. So I left home, I went to university in Buckinghamshire, in High Wycombe, and I studied sports and exercise science. That was probably the hardest 3 years of my life because I was a professional footballer at the time as well. So I was playing obviously every day and then had to somehow find room to study, and it was really hard. And if it wasn't for my mum kind of annoying me and telling me you really need to start working harder, I probably wouldn't have completed it. And I'm so lucky now to say, like, I actually don't think about it now because it's so far in the past, but I've got my degree, and if I want to go into anything kind of along those lines in sports and exercise science, I can. I obviously am interested in those areas because they relate to football and sport. But yeah, it's been tough for me because I've not had the easiest of careers, if I'm honest. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I know that education is always going to be with me, and I've got that degree, and I know that these days of jobs is tough anyway in the scenarios that we're going through at the moment, but like I know that I've got that degree for the future and I can use it if I need to. And I don't recommend going to uni enough. Like, I didn't do the whole party scene of the university, but because I was professional, but for me, like, education is vital. It really is. And yeah, again, I don't recommend it enough because it's needed, and you're only going to learn from education too. Like, you can learn from football, but there's common sense that you get from education, and I probably don't have much of that because I'm from Essex. But yeah, education was important to me, and my mum definitely told me that you need to keep it up.
Yeah, definitely. What did you get your degree in?
Sports and exercise science. So yeah, it's quite a broad subject.
Yeah. What would you be, do you think, if you weren't a footballer, a pro footballer?
Oh, this is a good one. So I love social media. I love TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. I love it all. And I'd love to do something within social media, but I've always loved coaching. So I feel like I'd have probably fell into that because I've done it for so many years. Yeah, I love so many different things though. Like, I love baking cakes, which is ridiculous, but I love baking. And if any of you have Instagram, like, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that I'm addicted to baking, and I've got my own little highlight with all the stuff that I make, and I'd love to be able to kind of sell those as well. So there's so many things that I'd love to do, but right now, solely focused on football.
Yeah, love that. Brilliant. And if we go moving on, so you've touched on, and obviously we all know you are a professional footballer. So the young girl's dream, my dream it was. I took a slightly different route, but we want to know, and if you were able to tell us, Molly, what's it like being a professional footballer? Because obviously, again, back in the day, it was something that you dreamt of. We had the Kelly Smiths and the Faye Whites, but I don't know if you agree, but now in the modern day era with the social media and the fact that it's on TV, it's sort of completely blown in a positive way. And can you tell us, obviously speaking to you, what's a typical week? What's a typical day? Like, you've told me you've been training today, and generally what's it like? People scream after your autograph?
Not quite, but a typical day, a typical week even. If we're playing on a Sunday, we normally get the Monday off. Obviously to recover. I normally go for a little walk, pretty much watch anything that's on telly, catch up on Netflix, kind of do just chill things really. That's always my day off. It doesn't really ever change. Obviously, if I was out of lockdown, I'd be going and seeing my family, but I can't see them currently, which is tough. But yeah, normally I just go for a little walk, Away from that, so obviously when we're actually training, we're normally in around 9:30, which is a nice little lay-in for some people, parents that work longer hours than I do. But yeah, so we're normally in at 9:30. Sorry. We have prehab, which is like a kind of warm-up session to get into the day and get into the session. We then go out on the pitch, train for hour and a half, 2 hours. Obviously intense. Reading is known to be a really tough kind of club to come to physically. So yeah, we do a lot of running, a lot of tactical stuff as well, because we're quite known for that. And then we kind of come out, have lunch, and then we kind of go into the gym and do S&C, so strength and conditioning, working on, you know, physically how we can be better individually. And then I'm off home, and that's the kind of the day. It sounds simple, but it's not as simple as you think. But yeah, so that's our day. We normally train 5 days a week, sometimes 6, depending on when we have our games. But yeah, it's tough. Physically, it's pretty demanding. I know other clubs aren't as demanding physically, but the way and the style that Reading play, you have to be fit. You have to physically work hard, and that's something we really kind of want to be known for. So yeah, that's a typical kind of week. We train at the moment, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leading up to the game. So yeah, it's an intense week, but it's my job at the end of the day, and I love it because I'm doing what I love every day. I go in and I'm kicking a ball around for a living, and not many people can say that. So yeah, I'm lucky.
When was it? When did you sign your first pro contract? Was that as soon as you went to Reading?
Yeah, I was 17.
17.
Yeah. So, and then I think as soon as I turned 18, I signed my first professional contract, which was crazy. And like, I didn't earn any money, obviously. I know I had a little job in Domino's actually when I was back home. But apart from that, I hadn't earned money. I was very much living off what my parents could give me until I got that contract. And since then, I've been really fortunate enough to get one every single year onwards. But yeah, that was my first professional contract. Really lucky because, as I said, not many people can say they're a professional footballer.
Decent. And as you can see from the lovely images that I found, you not only play alongside some of the greatest, as you can see, Farrah Williams, but you also play against some of probably the best in the world. So
yeah,
you know, you play against the teams. So you play like Vivianne Miedema, Lucy Bronze, Leah Williamson, Kim Little, Beth Mead, all the big names. How is it? What's it like? Not only playing with, again, sort of the individual that you idolised, but also playing against these world-class players.
Yeah, like Arsenal is always a really weird game for me because it's my old club. But to put yourself up against Miedema, now she is somebody that you can't expect anything from because she's just someone that will score out of nothing. And she, as a defender, is probably the hardest player I've ever had to play against because she can look like she's doing nothing and she'll just score. And so, yeah, this is a funny story. When I was in the England under-19s, we had the European finals, and Miedema is the same age as me, and she was in that tournament. I didn't play her because our group didn't match up that way, but she was in the tournament. She was top goal scorer. And back then we were like, I think she's going to go on to big things. You know, she was massive back then. And to now see her in England, playing for Arsenal, you know, one of the top clubs, is amazing. And that game is not, that picture on that is the game that we lost 6-0 or 6-1 actually. So it's not really the best picture you could have put up because the other week we only drew 1-0 with them. But look, yeah, she's unbelievable and she's a great player. But look, the other picture, Jill Scott, she's probably going to go and make her 150th appearance for England this week, which is incredible. Farah's obviously made a lot more than her, and I get to train with Farah every single day, and she's been my idol, really. And I remember because when she first came, I was in a bit of shock. My number is number 5 and Farah's number is number 4. And she had to sit next to me in the changing room and I didn't know what to say to her. I got really nervous. Whereas now she banters me, you know, takes a mick out of me. She's just like a friend and she's so humble and somebody I respect massively. You know, she's been through some tough times, but she's probably one of the best players that has lived the women's game.
100%. And just touching on it, so would you say the toughest player that you've ever played against, Vivianne Miedema, or is there anyone else?
Yeah, I think I'd have to, because she's just so good at goal scoring, and she just goes about her business. And she's pretty much always top goal scorer this year. I think previous years she's always been top goal scorer since she's been in England. So yeah, for me, she can just do something out of nothing, and not many players are gifted to do that. That is talent, and she's one that is still so young at the same time. So she's got so much to do and so much to give. That for me, yeah, I think she's got the most potential to be unbelievable.
And linking on to that, who do you think currently is the best female footballer in the world?
In the world, obviously Lucy Bronze just got the last award, and I've played against Lucy Bronze a lot of times with Reading, and she's somebody that just powers through people. For me, she's physically the best player in the world, 100%. But I think there's a lot of people technically that are catching up. I think somebody like Fran Kirby goes very much unknown, goes about a business, and nothing's really said as much. You've got a lot of players in the league that are so talented that don't get recognised as much. Meadham is another one. I think there's like some of the Americans that have just joined the league. They're unbelievable. Like Samantha Mewis, for me, she's probably one of the best players in the world, like 100%. And like Rose Lavelle, Tobin Heath, like all these players, like I think I tackled Tobin Heath in the last game, and I got a bit happy because I was like, I have looked at this person on the television way too many times, and I'm now playing up against her. And sometimes like you have to take a step back. Like for me, I'm just Molly. I'm just from a normal person from Essex, with a dream, and I sometimes have to really take a step back. Even sometimes I know obviously I'm in the game and I'm playing the game, but I'm like, I'm playing against some of the best players in the world. Like, what an experience. And I've most recently kind of found that I try not to think too much before a game, because in the past I've really kind of pressurized myself into wanting to be as good as them, but I can't possibly be. But if I can do something to stop them, then I know that I've done something well. And that's kind of how I've looked at football this year. And I've come up against like even Valerie Galvin, the Everton striker. She's a French international. We played against her at the weekend, and she's unbelievable. There's so many players, like every team, like the top 5 teams, you come up against them, and there's world-class players in that team. So I think it's really hard to pick one. Lucy Bronze, physically, energetic, in every element of football, should be the best player in the world, 100%. As I said, I feel like there's always new ones coming and going, and people that don't become as recognised either.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And just touching on Fran Kirby, because I know you're good friends with her, so we thought we'd name drop her in there. What's Fran like? Because for me, it's important for the girls to realise that yes, you're a professional footballer, but it's also the individual and the personality. And how much of an influence has she helped you through your career? Because obviously you started quite young. And then also tell us a bit about how you two used to coach.
Yeah, so me and Fran are really good friends. I came to Reading and Fran was at Reading. I agree, Fran Kirby is so underrated. But yeah, look, Fran is still to this day one of my really good friends. She's an inspiration, if I'm honest, because she's been through some really tough times, and she's still the player she is now. I think at the moment for Chelsea, she's probably playing her best football. I really think she's kind of excelling in that kind of way. Obviously with England and the Lionesses, she continues to prove. But Fran as a person is honestly the most humble person I've ever met. For somebody that is so big in the women's game, I'm sure a lot of you will know, she's massive. She's just Fran, and she's never changed. And for me, that's something that you can't say about a lot of footballers, because look, football's a big thing. A lot of people become famous, and Fran is, but she's not from my perspective. She's still the Fran that I knew when I first came to Reading. And to play with her was just the most amazing experience. She's just somebody you could pass the ball to her and she would do the rest. And she pretty much got us promoted, if I'm honest. She pretty much got us where we wanted to be, and now she's gone on to Chelsea, and I can't say anything but amazing words about Fran, because she honestly is a good person. And yes, somebody that I idolise at the same time as have full respect for, and she's helped me because I've not had the most consistent career in football, and I know that she hasn't. And I think having somebody that understands you is so helpful, and that's who Fran is to me. So yeah, a friend, a true friend.
Brilliant. And if I move to the next slide. So your international duty, so you've had the great privilege of representing and playing for England. So I know we've already touched on sort of your football journey. Are you able to sort of touch on your England sort of side, sort of how you got into it? So if you were scouted, you know, what sort of things actually took place, and your journey through it, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So I actually got scouted for England at 13 years old. And it was for the under 15s. Back then, I didn't really know what I was going into. It was very much England, like, what? I was, as I said, I was just playing football and enjoying it. I didn't really know what could come of it. I just kind of went and thought, well, I might as well give it a go. And actually, some of the players that I went to that first England camp are actually like part in the seniors, part on the fringe of the seniors, which is crazy because so many footballers go kind of unknown and they drift off and they don't end up playing football, but a lot of them are. I went under 15s. I then went to the under 17s. I went to European, phases, which is like championships. Again, that's kind of where I've seen Miedema. Jill Ward's another one from Arsenal who I'd also kind of come up against. So like a few players I'd now play against, which is really strange because I was obviously so young and I wouldn't really notice them back then. I then went to the 19s where we made the European finals in Israel. We didn't quite make it to as far as we wanted to, but forever grateful for that opportunity because I also got to visit some amazing countries along the way. I then went into the 23s, playing along the likes of Beth Mead, Beth England, Hannah Blundell, who's at Chelsea, Millie Bright, some amazing footballers. Truly amazing footballers that are pretty much in the seniors now, Beth England's another one of my really good friends. So I also got to make really good friends on those camps and friends that I will be friends with for a long period of time. But yeah, I was really fortunate to captain England a couple of times. My parents came out and watched me numerous amounts of times because it's a proud moment. Like I can't even describe how it feels because you're wearing that shirt and you're singing the national anthem and it's kind of emotional, if I'm honest. And it's kind of like all of that hard work has paid off since I was a kid when my dad used to just kick the ball up in the air for me to control, and it seemed so simple back then, but it's helped me so much now. Those moments, it kind of takes you back to those times where you was over the local park, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. Again, I have visited some countries I would never have visited, played with some amazing footballers. So yeah, my England pathway was amazing, and I would love to make my senior debut, but I also know that I'm very much kind of solely focusing on myself at the moment and what I can do at Reading and what I can do week in, week out. And if I become noticed, then that's amazing. But for me, it's not kind of something that's in my head because I don't want it to affect me in any way.
Yeah, it'll come, Mo. It'll come.
I hope so.
Big thing for me. What would you say is the difference between playing club football and playing for England? So what was the main difference? Not in terms of how you get there, in terms of, you play your club football and then you play for England. What was the main challenge?
Yeah, so for me, the big difference was just the quality. The quality and the tempo of training was just completely different. Obviously, I was playing with people that were in the England squad, and now I play with players that have been in the England squad. So they kind of, the likes of Farah, the likes of Jo Potter, Jade Moore, that have been in the England squad, and I've played with them at Reading. They very much at Reading up the tempo of training. So the tempo of training, people actually said, was pretty much similar to the seniors. But during kind of the youth age groups of England, it was very much like the technical element. People were very good technically, and that was the big difference for me. But then you come up against international teams, and when you come up against an international team in comparison to a club team, it is like a different ball game. You are playing against the best players for that country, and that's something people forget, I think.
Who was your toughest opponents, would you say, Mo? Like what country? Because Germany
Spain.
was really good. Spain.
Spain, yeah, they were so technical. They were just popping it so quickly. And yeah, for me, like they were probably the best. We played them a couple of times. They were really tough. I think we beat them once, lost them a couple of times, but yeah, they had, and even players now that are in the Spanish senior team. And that's what I mean. Like sometimes I've played against these players that are playing for their international teams now, and it's actually it's quite warming. It's quite nice knowing that you've played against those and you've put yourself against some of the best players for those countries. But Spain, for me, really tough opponent. Yeah, so like good on the ball, calm on the ball, and not many countries are like that. You know, if you watch Spanish football, like Barcelona back in the day, it was all about how quickly they could move the ball and triangles and getting those connections, and that was literally how they played.
Decent. Good question that Billy sent in actually. Did you know at the young age, so let's say when you just got into England, did you know or could you tell that you were better, elite, or even actually superior to the other girls?
I'm somebody that really struggles with confidence, so I never ever thought I was better than anybody else. I always have been really fortunate enough to be very technical. I think that came from Arsenal, and from growing up there, and being around like technical coaches. So I always knew that was kind of a gift to me. I always knew I was going to be one of the better technical players, if I'm honest. Yes, but I'm small and I'm not quick, and I've had to learn a lot because I'm a centre half and I'm not tall and I'm not quick. So I've had to learn a different style of play to be a good centre half, reading the game, using my physical attributes now to be better against centre forwards and strikers. So yeah, I suppose like I learned a lot from Arsenal and growing up there. I think that's where I really owe a lot to, because I think technically it was where I kind of became me. And even to this day, like I get comments from Farrah Williams saying I'm one of the most technical players. That's Farrah Williams, who is the most technical player that I have ever played with. So yeah, I'll take that. That's going on my CV. But yeah, so look, they're compliments that sometimes I need, if I'm honest, because I'm not somebody that looks at myself and goes, oh yeah, I did really well today, or I did this really well, because I mainly look at the bad things and the negatives that I've done in that game, and it's just the way I am.
Okay. Who was the first person you told when you got the call up?
My mum. I was I was walking home from school, I think, and I got the text. I pretty much sprinted home, and I was like, Mum. And she was like, what? Like, oh, she didn't really know at the time what was going on. And I was like, I've just got this email. Like, what is this? And then we had to read it through because I've never seen an email like it before. It was so detailed and what was going on. And I think I went to Arsenal training in the evening and then found out a few of the other girls had been selected as well. And it was amazing. Like, but as I said, I was by myself at the time. So it was like, I need somebody. Where's my mum? And that was like my natural thought was to go to my mum. It still is to this day, if I'm honest. But yeah, that was kind of the first person I went to.
And obviously that must have been a highlight. So linking that to the success and challenges. Obviously you've got Jordan Nobbs on the left, who, you know, again, renowned female footballer. Are you able to have you got any highlights, first of all, like throughout your career that stick with you and think, yeah, I've done well there?
Well, one of them there is the Youth Cup. That was amazing. Yeah, that's Jordan. So yeah, that was amazing because the previous years we lost. To finally win it was like finally. It was like a miracle. So yeah, that was amazing. That was a really good experience for me. But signing my first professional contract, I mean, I don't think you can get much better. It was my dream since I was a kid to do it, and I finally did it, and I'm really fortunate to continue that. But yeah, on the other side is England. There we won a cup in America. It's called the Nordic Tournament, and it's always kind of America, Norway. But in that one, I think Brazil was there, and America were also there. And I can't even say her name. Mallory Pugh was playing for them, who obviously is like really big in America at the moment. But we won the tournament, and I was captain. So yeah, that was a good experience as well, I suppose. I've had a few. Like I've been very fortunate. I just made my 100th appearance for Reading the other week, which was again another one, something that I'll treasure forever, because not many people can say they've played 100 games for a club. So yeah, I've had a few. Also had some bad moments, you know, as you can see in that middle picture when we lost. But yeah.
What would you say in terms of the challenges, Mole? What have you had any bad injuries, sort of mentally? How have not just yourself, but who's helped you through those tough times?
Oh, my mum. My mum is my everything. She's got me through a lot of tough times, moments that I've thought I was going to give up and quit, moments that I honestly have been on my deathbed, moments that I've really been rock bottom. It's always been my mum that's picked me back up, and the motivation of playing football has always kind of bounced me back into that thought process of no, you can't give up now. Like, this is supposed to be your dream. Like, continue that. And it's been tough. Football is tough. There's so many highs and lows. There is injuries. I've had many. So like but it's part of the game, and it's something that you have to expect. And I think my advice to any kid is it's going to happen. And the best thing is to have the best support around you and the people that honestly care to kind of pick you back up again, because you're not going to go through a whole career with just having consistency. It's such a tough game. You know, you win, you lose, you get injured, you get dropped, you're then starting. It's just so many highs and lows, and it's something that you really need to kind of understand. And I would advise to understand it younger than older, because a lot of people now experience it and they don't know how to deal with it. And it's something I'm really fortunate of, because I've got such a supportive family. In particular, my mum, she just kind of always knew how to snap me back into it and get me kind of get the molly back.
Yeah, no, decent. Cheers, Mo. And then quick fire questions. So we've got a couple of questions that the girls have sent in. Answer them short, how as long as you like. Some of them we've already touched upon, but some of these are really good. So again, linking into sort of the highlights and the challenges that you've just spoken about, why do you think that you've made it professional? So what's made you different? Obviously, apart from the pathway that you decided to choose, but why did you make it compared to some others?
I think it's just always been my motivation. I've never given up. I've been through some really tough times, and I've always come out stronger. And that's because I've always wanted to make it. I've always wanted to prove. I've always wanted to make my family proud. Ultimately, that's been my main goal, and still will be until I finish my career, is that I will always want to make my family, my parents, my friends proud. So yeah, I think it's tough because, as I said, football is not always going to be high. There's so many lows. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I think my family, again, are just the best thing for me. But things that probably made me the player I am is just pure motivation to be the best, pure motivation to go out and train longer than anybody else, to go out when it's raining, you know, thunder, lightning. I went out, I trained. Even in this lockdown and the previous lockdowns, it was horrible, raining, and I was still running. And I was still doing it. And my mum would be like, what are you doing? Like, because I had to go home in the first lockdown. And my mum would be like, it's really raining outside. You shouldn't be going out. I'm like, no, I need to do my program. I need to train. And that's always been me. Like, I've never kind of cut a corner. And I think maybe that's been why I say lucky, because I always say lucky, but probably has made me the player I am, and why I'm a professional footballer is because I've never given up and I've always worked hard.
Yeah, I think there's some really key messages in there, girls. Obviously, motivation and be the best that you can be. Challenge yourself, and others might necessarily, do it for you. But brilliant. Question from Laura: if you could play for any team in the world, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a good one. I think Lyon. Yeah, they're the best team in the world, women's football wise. Win Champions League after Champions League. To be able to play with some of those players, Marajan, like, she's somebody that I've always looked at, Wendy Renard, like, these are massive players in women's football. And yeah, for me, I think if I was lucky enough to get that opportunity, I would take it hands down, because that is one of the biggest clubs in the world. But as I said, English football is coming up. You know, it really is improving. There's so many players that are coming over from different countries now, and it does prove how far it's come. So look, I would love to go back to Arsenal and play for Arsenal, because I never really got that complete opportunity at the end. Chelsea, another one. Man United. There's just so many clubs, like, I'd love to be given the opportunities to play for, but for me, Lyon, hands down. To go and live in another country as well, it'd be pretty cool.
You got to learn French. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Question from Billy: who is the best player, apart from myself, that you've played with in your career?
Frank Kirby. Frank Kirby or Farrah Williams, yeah. Farrah, obviously, I'm lucky enough to play with now, still to this day. And I see what she does week in, week out in training. And she's different class. Left foot, right foot, like anything. She's just got it. And yeah, I think probably Farrah would be at the moment, because obviously I'm playing with her currently. But Fran was the ultimate footballer when I was playing with her, and I think that proves where she is now, in how good she is and what she's doing for club and country.
Yeah, key 2 words in there, girls: left foot and right foot. I always nag them about using both feet. Well, do you have a pre-game ritual?
I used to. So I used to like always have to have the same food before the game. But I've really tried to stop it, because sometimes restaurants don't serve the food you need, or, you know, I might not have what I want in the fridge. So I've tried to stop it, because I don't want to have the feeling of going into the fridge and not having what I need, and then being stuck and then blaming it because I've not played well. So like, I take that element out now, and I just, whatever I fancy, you know. But it's just, I used to wear the same sports bra. I used to wear the same shin pads. I used to wear like basically everything the same. I used to wear tape around my wrist. In previous photos, you've probably seen that. But I've changed it all this year, because I thought, you know what, if I can't have it, then what am I going to feel like? So why don't I start this season without anything, and then kind of see how it goes? I mean, it's worked so far, because I've not thought about it. But yeah, I did used to have a lot of superstitions and rituals.
Yeah. You scored this season?
No. So maybe I should go back.
Defend goals, you don't score goals. So you
yeah.
have scored a couple for Reading, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I've scored a few for Reading, but not this year. No. I'm defender. I'm only up for set pieces.
There we go. Easy. Well, hopefully this is easy question. Adidas or Nike?
Oh, Adidas.
Yes, yeah, up the Adidas. Favourite male footballer?
Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, why?
He's ginger, first of all. But yeah, I mean, why not? I think everybody sees him week in, week out for Man City. He's just the best player in the Premier League for me. He's just technically unbelievable, can see passes before they're even there. Somebody that I literally just am glued to the television whenever he's on. I think he came on last night and I was like, right, I'm watching the game, because just his movement, everything is something that I really just love. And he's not even playing in my position, but yeah, he's got to be.
Yeah, he is class. The links into maybe one of your highlights, but what's your favourite game that you've ever played in?
Oh.
Girls, while Molly's having a think, if you've got any questions, quickly pop them on the chat, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. So if you've got any dying questions, type them in now whilst Molly answers this for me.
I would say we had a quarter-final of the Cup, FA Cup, against Man United. I think it was a couple of years ago. And it was so entertaining, and we were so good in that game. And I think as a team, that was the best game I've played in, because we all worked for each other. And it might not have been the prettiest of games, but it was just a game that I loved to be in. It was so good. And I think we scored in like the last minute of the game. And you can just imagine the celebrations when we actually had a crowd. It was just an amazing experience. And that's one of the best. But any England game that I played in, 100%, because you're playing against the best, you're playing with the best in the country. And that's just something not many people can say.
Yeah. So linked into, we'll go for Eden's first. So linked into talking about you scoring. What is the best goal that you've scored? Not just
Reading?
No, the best goal you've ever scored.
So when I was really young at Spurs at Tottenham, I scored from the halfway line. It was under 10. So yeah, look, now easily do that because it's a smaller pitch and I'm twice the size. But back then that was like a massive thing, and I scored, and it was in the cup final against Enfield, and it was probably the best goal I've scored. It was on the half volley, and I was so young. I was like 11 years old. I didn't think I could possibly do something like that, and I did, and I went crazy. And that's probably one of the best goals I've scored. I actually haven't scored many in my career, but that's probably one of the best. I scored probably more at Arsenal than I have at Reading. But yeah, like I don't really get the opportunity. You know, I'm a defender. I stop the goals, and for me, that's better than scoring. Getting a block on the line for me is better than scoring. And I know it's really cliche, and people be like, "Oh, you're lying," but that genuinely is me. And you could probably ask any of my teammates. The one thing I love to do is to defend. So yeah.
Who do you think? We've got a couple of keepers in our centre mould. So who do you think is the best female goalkeeper currently?
Ooh.
Goalkeeper that you've played? Or with?
So I obviously play with Grace Maloney. This year she's been unbelievable. She's definitely up to her game this year. I think Ellie Roebuck is probably for me number one at the moment for England. I think she's so young, but she's got so much to give as well. You see her playing for Man City, and she's class. So I think she'd be up there. But Karen Bardsley back in the day was by far the best goalkeeper I knew. But there's so many good goalkeepers. And Katrin Berger, who's at Chelsea, I think she's technically unbelievable. Very, very good goalkeeper. And probably people say the best goalkeeper in the league. But I'm obviously fortunate enough to play with Grace, and Grace Maloney is a very good goalkeeper. For me, she's my kind of goalkeeper because she's calm on the ball and she's technical. And that's what I like, because as a defender, we are very much a footballing side. So yeah, all four of those, are really good goalkeepers. I think at the moment, I'd probably say Ann-Katrin Berger for the league is best. Yeah. But English-wise, I'd probably say Ellie Roebuck is my number one.
Yeah, decent. The female goalkeeping is definitely on the rise.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's one area, especially I know pundits tend to sort of pick upon, but I definitely think that's one area that's going to fly with the progression of women's football.
Absolutely.
Getting a quick look through the. Have you played any other sports, Molly?
Yes. I was really good at cricket growing up. I played cricket for Essex, and actually got asked to go to England, and I had to choose between England football and England cricket growing up. So yeah, I really enjoyed cricket. It was very much my granddad's sport. He loved it, so my dad wasn't too fond. But yeah, I loved cricket, and I still watch it now. If the Ashes is on or something, I still watch it. Sometimes I have a little mess around in the changing room. I get a tennis ball and I start playing. But yeah, I used to play cricket quite highly, but I did every sport growing up. You name it: tennis, netball, hockey, everything. I just kind of threw myself at anything I could, really.
Yeah, brilliant. And so we've done the attacking side in terms of the best goal we've ever scored. But what's your best or most memorable tackle? Jen has asked this.
Oh, that's a good one. Probably one against Miedema. She's so tall, and she's got such a presence. So to be able to physically get around her and defend her, that's probably one of my better tackles. I think it was last year, I did one, and it was a clear-cut shot for her, and I managed to get back. And she's probably one of the best. Yeah, because she's one of the best players I've played against. To tackle her makes it even better.
Brilliant. Yeah, I would be proud of that one. Just a couple more, Mol. So when you were younger, were you more interested in men's or women's football? That's by Emily. It's a great question, to be fair.
It's a good question. I'd say men's, if I'm honest. My dad's a massive West Ham fan, so I grew up watching West Ham. My granddad was Arsenal, so I grew up watching West Ham and Arsenal. Thierry Henry was my ultimate footballer. I loved him to bits, and I watched a lot of men's football. And I think that's probably why if people to watch the way I play a little bit like a male footballer in the way I play. So I think that's how I've kind of got that, is because I've always watched men's football, even to this day. You know, Super Sunday or even on Saturdays with the football, like it's straight on the telly. Obviously, if there's women's games on, I will put them on as well. You know, there are competitors at the end of the day. Like, you want to watch the team you're about to play, but a lot of the time, male football's on, and it's the first thing I put on telly.
Yeah, brilliant. Easy game, easy question, hopefully. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Oh no, that's a Messi all the way through. Why Ronaldo?
Because I think he's got it all.
Yeah.
I think he can. He's good in the air. He's physically good. I mean, no, for me, I don't think anybody's getting anywhere near both of them. I think you look at Mbappe, you look at Haaland, and you go, yeah, look, they're very good footballers. I don't think they're going to go to the stats that Ronaldo and Messi have. I mean, if I got asked, do you want Messi in your team? I wouldn't say no. But at the end of the day, but for me, I just think Ronaldo's the all-round footballer. I do love watching Messi, but I think the right-footed version of Messi is Jack Grealish. So I think it's so, you know, he's obviously very, very good. And I mean, I'd do anything to have him in my team. But for me, Ronaldo is just the ultimate footballer. He's just got every attribute you'd want.
Brilliant. Yeah. And we'll go for one little final question. So I think I saw, what boots do you currently wear, and what ones are your favourite?
So I used to wear Puma, but this season I've gone to Adidas, and I'm wearing the Preds, and they are my favourite boot that I've ever worn. I'm really fortunate I get Adidas boots, and they are my boot. I found my boot, and it's very much a centre half boot, but I love them. Yeah, so comfy. Really love wearing them, and even for games, like I look down, I'm like, oh, they're pretty. So like, yeah, I'm really fortunate to wear them. But I used to wear everything. I used to wear Total 90s back in the day, Nike. But I wore anything really. And then the season before last, I wore Puma for a long time. And then luckily enough, got to wear Adidas this year, and I love them. Yeah, they'd be my boots.
Yeah, brilliant. One final thing, well, and obviously congratulations on behalf of all of us for your 100th cap.
Thank you.
You beat me to that during the interview. But what, if there was any, not necessarily just one bit of advice, because I know that's always tough, but if there was any advice you can give these girls that are on here now and just future prospects, what would you tell them?
I think ultimately you've got to work hard, but play with a smile. I think a lot of people forget that the reason why you play football is because you love it. I know the pressures can become too much sometimes, but you've got to always remember why you originally started playing, and that is because you love football. And if you remember that, then you play differently. And I think so many people overthink it. But yeah, play with a smile, as long as you're happy. That is like my ultimate quote. It's the one quote I say is, as long as you're happy. Because I don't think you should ever do something that you don't feel comfortable with doing. And for like all of you girls growing up into the women's football that it is at the moment, which is getting bigger and bigger, it should just push yourself, work hard, do extra sessions, be that professional. And if you can do that, then there's no way that you won't go and prove a point. You won't go and be successful, because hard work gets you everywhere. So yeah, that's probably my advice.
Brilliant. And on behalf of all of us, myself, the girls, the club, I just want to say a massive thank you. It's not every day that we get to speak to a professional women's footballer. And honestly, like, obviously we're the same age. We sort of grew up for 4 years together, but you are an idol. And I'm sure that obviously the girls will look up to you, and hopefully we've got the next you amongst us. You never know. We'll be asking her. But no, thank you, Mole. Take care. Obviously, all the best for the rest of the season. And you know, we'll be supporting you every step of the way.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks, girls. Take care. And don't forget, we've got our session on Sunday morning. I'm very much looking forward to it. Don't worry. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe in your emails. Bye, Sophia. We've got one left.
All right, boss.
There. Oh, hang on, I'm still recording.